most all members of the family. And that's, you know, a thing that no way can these kids understand. But I think it may be significant in the sort of thing that they're probably going to have to get accustomed to. Because unless AIDS sweeps the whole world, you know, and reduces the population to 25% of what it is now, well, there isn't any other alternative to going back to that sort of privation. I don't see that there is any alternative at all.
Well, what effect did the Depression have on a minister's family? Was that real intense? Because when you were poor anyway, you said.
Well, sure, but then I'm not suggesting that we were terribly poor. The whole population was poor. I mean, that was to have a car was in that period when we were in Seattle. That was to have any car at all. That was not the common thing.
But you had a car.
And we finally got a car, and that was a great step up.
In Seattle?
In Seattle, yeah. But there were plenty of cars. There was no great traffic problem or any parking problem or anything like that. Wherever you went downtown, you just parked wherever you wanted. You know, because there weren't many cars. Yeah, well, even in Eugene, we went to the university, and there were 2,500 students at the university, and 4 or 5 cars in the whole student body.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now, this, of course, is a depression, too. But on the general level of society, see, this is not the affluent society at all. And kids have no notion as to what that would be. But it will be back there in another quarter century. Yeah.
Well, when you got the car and you got in the incorrect way, was that in Seattle?
In what?
Was that in Seattle when you got in the car the pagan way?
Oh,
yes.
Oh well, that's more just Margaret's rigidity and behavior, and all this related, you know, to Christian values and most everything that you did. And well, she's essentially that way now. But there's the right way and the wrong way to do things. And she's still straightening out the world, you know, and she always will.
Well, tell that story, because Margaret doesn't remember it. Getting in the car.
Well, it was, yeah, well, we were, probably 6 and, let's see how, in 1927 is when we moved from Seattle to Eugene. 27. So I would be, what?
Well, you would be from 14 to 27 was 13?
13, got it. Is that that? Oh, yeah, 7th grade, yeah. Yeah, that's right. No, we're talking about Seattle, yeah. we're talking about Seattle, yeah, when this
Yeah.
happened, yes. And so we were, I don't know, somewhere 6 and 8, I think, Bob and I. And we were going for, one of the big deals was Sunday afternoon after Sunday dinner was to take a ride in the car. You know, you didn't do this very often. Just actually go out and get in the car and just drive for pleasure. So only those, you could only take a certain number of people anyway, so that, they had to choose who was going to get the ride, a Sunday afternoon ride. And so Grace and Margaret and Bob and I, and whoever was driving the car,
Probably Dean.
we're going to go out and get in the car and go. So Bob and I went out, and Grace and Margaret were already in the car. And so I came out and this touring car just jumped over the door to get in the back seat. And this offended Margaret. She said, "Now get out and get in the Christian way."
Margaret would have been about what, 16?
Okay.
Boy, that's something.
Well-
Margaret 16.
Let's see, we have to back up here. Now, let's see. 3, 2, 5, 7, 9, 11 years. No, she was 18. Yeah. Yeah.
And Margaret never drove. It wasn't okay
Oh, no.
for girls to drive?
No. No, it was just Henry and Dean that drove that shed.
I didn't know we were being.
But it was characteristic of Margaret, her general attitude, her dominating authority over the young, and her necessity for her to straighten us out all the time. And the manner in which she did it, very characteristic.
Did you give her a bad time? Did you ever argue with her? Or you just accepted?
Well, no, but you didn't really question authority. You just tried to avoid it.
So you got back then and got in the Lutheran way?
That was a pretty well stated way, Paul. That was actually how it happened. So he just, I hated to come into dinner, you know, because
Yeah, just then, you're
in the authority, you see.
yeah, under the thumb.
Other than that, you know, you were out there flying around outside, doing all these things outside. But when you got called to dinner, didn't we have some kind of a bell or something we
Oh, yeah.
get called in by?
Yeah.
What kind of a bell was it? I've forgotten. There was some kind of a bell, a cowbell or some such.
Yeah, whistle.
Yeah,
Whistle, yeah,
a whistle.
yeah,
That was it. It was a big long whistle,
yeah.
you know, and you're supposed to all come running. I always hated to, you know, leave the project, do the thing, and get in there and get under authority.
Yeah. But as far as this, we came to Eugene in 1927, in the middle of, in the summer. But the Great Depression then started in 29. And one of the great opportunities of this moving to Eugene was that the older members of the family then could go to the university See, it was just not practical in Seattle.
Why?
Um,
University of
Well, they were, yeah, the University of Washington, you know, was way, you know, gone out, and also the older ones had been working, and but it was so convenient down in Eugene, everybody could just walk, you know, and they didn't have to pay car fare, you know, which was quite an item in those days. So they did immediately. Margaret and Dean and Henry entered the university, and shortly thereafter, Bud and Grace. They had 5 kids in the university at the same time.
Wow.
So they weren't contributing anything to the family support. Grace was the only one that did. But then when the Depression came, and there wasn't any work, so that everybody had to grab any odd job that was available, and most all their income had to be plowed right back into the family, because the church really couldn't support much of anything in the Depression. And fortunately, there was a grocery store across the street, which when he couldn't pay the grocery bill, this debt just kept piling up for years and years and years. And the Grace had the only steady job in the family, and she largely contributed to the support of the whole family. And the other ones who couldn't get a permanent job anyway were just going to school.
Well, how did they go to school though? What was the expense? Wasn't
Well, they there was under the Roosevelt administration, they did have a National Youth Administration program in which you could get your tuition, which was $27 a term, by doing odd jobs around the university campus and being reimbursed $9 a month.
Wow.
So that every 3 months you would just sign up, and the NYA would pay the $9 a month back to the university.
Wow.
Cover your tuition. And you scrambled any way you could, the family to buy what books you needed, and the books didn't cost that much.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So it was possible to do that, and there wasn't anything else you could do because you couldn't get a job. But also, here you had a situation in which the ordinary family, most all these people have been getting married and moving out, and you had all these great big lunks still sitting at home in a family situation. Very unnatural. And creating their own personality problems by this enforced extension in a nuclear family. And here, you know, these people clear up on the top of the 20s, still stuck in the family.
Did they date? Did they? I mean, was...
Yeah. They moved around as best they could, and Henry had this attachment to Mildred, who, poor woman, was stuck with him for a long time with no hope of getting married. And of course, I solved my own problem, but just by simply as soon as I got graduated and got $60 a month as a TA, ran off and got married with Janet and set up housekeeping.
Just get away from him. Oh,
To
did you get married before
this
most?
domination, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, this god-awful pressure in the family.
Did you get married before you finished college?
No.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, no. I finished college and then got this $60 a month stipend as a teaching assistant in the English department. That's when I got married. Yeah. But all of us lived on odd jobs, and picking beans or in the summer, or being on call at funeral parlors to go pick up bodies, working at gas stations. I did get when I was younger, got a job at 15 working at a gas station at 6th and Willamette that lasted for almost 2 years, working from 5 o'clock till 8 in the evening and then on the weekends. But that was unusual too. And we did get summer work. Some of the older fellows got summer work working in the wholesale grocery business, driving truck and doing labor, hauling 100-pound sacks of sugar and stuff. And Bud was great at that.
Oh, I bet you were.
Yeah. And driving truck down Boberg and back. But it was casual labor. It was casual labor, and whatever anybody got, everything except about $5 a week went into the family pot. And all of this time, up until the war, well, let's see, Henry did finally get a job with the National Biscuit Company in Portland and moved out. And Margaret married Alan and moved to Tacoma late in this period. But the rest are still stuck in this strange situation, trying to scratch enough, to survive.
Well, why did Dean stay there the whole time? I know he went into the army or something, but
Yeah.
then he came
Yeah.
home, lived with Grandma?
Yeah, and even after the war, he continued living with her until he died. But after the war, it was a different thing. There was plenty of work, and he worked in the wholesale lumber business and had plenty of money, and but never. He was rather shy, retiring type, and just never blossomed at all. But the Depression had tremendous depressing effect on most everybody's development.
So they were at home in their 27, 28 years old, and still under the thumb of Grandma? I mean, still...
Well, no. The older they got, the more they just dominated the parents, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in cruel ways, really. Um, and yeah, poor Mama still had to service all these grown-up lunks, you know, do all the laundry and maintain that whole thing, do most all the cooking, and well, they did, you know, they had shifts and doing the dishes and cleaning up the kitchen, but as far as the bulk of the housework was concerned in that great big old barn, that was still on her back.
Well, did your parents own that house? No, see, they lived on 13th Street.
Yeah.
And that was a church-owned house? And then the house on Willamette they bought?
Yeah.
First house they ever bought?
Yeah, and they bought that house for a little over $2,000. So, but it was a big deal.
Was that after he was retired?
Yeah. Yeah. That's when he retired.
Well, the church, the United Lutheran Church in Eugene started over on 13th Street?
Yeah,
In the
that was it.
house?
He was, see, that was when we came down on 27, that was the beginning of that church. It was a mission church. And it was in part, it had some support from the national church there in the beginning. Then, I outgrew that and established the one on 22nd and Washington. It was subsidized in part from the national church as well. But it was a going concern by that time.
Did you have a?
After the war, yeah.
You want one?
You didn't talk about Laddie. Was Laddie in Seattle? The dog, Laddie?
Oh, yeah, that was that little collie. Well, bastard collie. Small dog. Yeah, we had a succession of dogs. But I don't remember that we had cats. There was always someone dog. And I think, as far as I know, Bob might correct me, but Laddie, it seemed to me, was the first of them. And then we did get other dogs after Laddie died.
Laddie was, didn't they have Penny? Don't I remember them having Penny?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the one that carried over to the house on 20th and Willamette. 21st and Willamette, whatever it is. Yeah. That was a cocker.
I remember that dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Raspberry pie, so the last thing
In that house. Do you remember when Laddie had to die? When he had to kill that Laddie?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, Bob might remember.
What's that?
Laddie. Having to kill Laddie?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how I got elected to kill Laddie, but it seemed like a bunch of older people could have done it, but well, he had been fed ground glass, you know, and we took him to the vet, and the vet examined him and found out what it was and said he'll never last. Well, you know, he didn't. He just got thinner and thinner, didn't eat anything. And finally, one day he left and found him up at the, or I went out looking for him, found him up inside a wood pile up way up the end of the block there, and carried him home, and I don't know whether I got the chloroform or who got it, but anyhow, I fixed up a box and a bed and that sort of thing, and then put the cover over the thing, put the chloroform down and inside, and sat there and waited for him to die, you know. And I wasn't positive, you know, at any time that he was dead, and I finally took the lid off and made sure and didn't feel any pulse to him. So it didn't take that long, I suppose, 20 minutes or something like that. But I came out and everybody was crying. Margaret was crying, Grace was crying, crying.
Oh,
You know, he was a good dog, very smart, very sharp dog, a chow, part chow and part collie. But he used to, you know, he was a good pal kind of guy. He pulled us on skates. He just did everything that a dog should do, you know. Didn't do the things he shouldn't, except that he was quite a fighter. You know, he always used to be taking on the dog next door, Binky.
well,
Binky.
yeah.
That was the Buchanan's dog. But he had a special sleeping place. He slept on the landing on the stairway going up in the house, and he spent the night there, slept there during the daytime. And that way he could see people coming up and down, you know. So if he felt like getting up and coming out with him, he did. Yeah, it was a kind of a tough time.
I got Laddie. Trying to go through this. It says BB's.
Ooh, BB?
BB's. In Seattle.
Well, that's in Seattle, yeah. Well,
Oh, the BB gun?
yeah, we had BB guns, and we had those forts. We made forts, one down on the lower part and
Yeah.
one on the upper part. And I don't know where we got the lumber, but
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, there was a,
stupid kids that we were, you know, shooting at each other. How come somebody didn't get one shot in the eye or some other
oh,
thing?
good Lord. Well, see, there were, you know, there was